Hey everyone, Gill Gross here post-match. Carlos Alcaraz versus Hubert Hurkacz, Cincinnati 2023 semifinal. If you're not here for spoilers, click off the video in 3, 2, 1. For what, the fourth time this week, Carlos Alcaraz wins in 3. He saves a match point in the second set to advance to his first ever Cincinnati final. He'll face either Novak Djokovic or Alexander Zverev in that final, yet to be determined at the time of recording. I'll start with the first set, and then we'll go from there. We were looking at a very high-level Hubert Hurkacz. That was abundantly clear early. Very, very clutch serving, great moving, great defending, excellent on the second serve return, getting plenty of first serve returns in play as well, making Alcaraz work for everything. But most importantly, hitting the forehand pretty well. And it's something that I thought I was seeing glimpses of in Canada last week, and it was the main reason why I made him a dark horse before the tournament, because I felt like that side was kind of turning a corner, and these conditions, which are bouncing very, very high, that helps his forehand. The biggest problem with his forehand is he doesn't get a lot of RPM on the ball, but unlike some of the flat hitters who do a good job of kind of scraping the net and keeping the ball low, Hurkacz often has this bad combination of giving the ball a lot of shape, but also not getting a lot of topspin. The ball's going to go long if you're doing those two things in combination. That's kind of one of the issues, in simple terms with Hurkacz's forehand. But when the ball gets up high, he's able to kind of flatten out and lower the trajectory of his ball. It performs better. And I just like how he's been confident accelerating on that wing. When he's had to attack with his forehand, it's been a lot more consistent. He's missed a whole lot less than he's known to do. And I know if you saw the match point, your ears might be ringing at that statement, but it's true for the most part. On the Alcaraz side of things, though, didn't love the tactics from him early on whatsoever. Trying to play very aggressive first strike tennis, including on the return of serve, the second serve return. And there were a lot of short rallies here. Bang, bang, bang. Not a lot of longer rallies in the first set. I kind of think Alcaraz would be wanting to play the longer rallies and would be wanting to play from the back of the court very, very clean tennis. He wasn't playing clean tennis from the back of the court. The game that Hurkacz broke was pretty sloppy, a lot of unforced errors. And I think when you're playing Hurkacz and you're making a lot of unforced errors in neutral baseline rallies, you're really shooting yourself in the foot. There's no reason for that. It's kind of like missing a passing shot against a player who doesn't have great volleys. Maybe play the passing shot a little bit safer. They're not going to hit a great volley if you get it low, and then wait for your opportunity to hit that easier pass on the second or the third attempt, right? That's what you do against a player who doesn't volley great. I make that analogy with Hurkacz because he's not a big, powerful ground stroker for the most part. I mean, sometimes he can hurt you, but not as much as some others. So knowing that he likes pace, knowing that he's a very, very good absorber, and that he wants to beat you by kind of reacting, counterpunching, waiting until you're out of position and redirecting into the open court. He wants you to make errors, and that's how he wants to beat you from the back. Well, you should respond to that by maybe playing with a little bit more safety. I think Alcaraz should have copy and pasted the Medvedev game plan against Hurkacz. I've seen Alcaraz do that. I know it's not his nature to scale back the aggression or scale back the pace, but he does it against Medvedev. He knows that he should just play slower. Daniil loves the pace. He wants you to make an error, so let's be more patient and let's take some pace off. He can do it. Why not do that against Hurkacz? Hurkacz is basically the same guy, right? Just a little bit slower than Medvedev, which is the main reason why he's not as good. I didn't see as much slice as I thought as much as I thought Alcaraz should have been, and I was seeing too much risk. Keep that in mind. Let's talk about the returning. there also just weren't enough returns in play. Alcaraz was generating, I should say, enough opportunities to break Hurkacz's serve in the first set. So while I make it sound like he was completely off and he was completely outplayed, the reality is he was digging in over and over and over again. You got to give Hurkacz tons of credit for clutch serving. He saved the first 8 break points that he faced in the match. Through 2 sets of play, he was 8 for 8 on break points saved, and he was also 8 for 8 on first serves in. But a lot of them were returnable. A lot of those first serves were returnable that Alcaraz missed. Remember, this is what didn't happen at Wimbledon. This is what was so impressive about Alcaraz at Wimbledon, was he was taking on all these massive servers, and the level of first serve returning was at the very highest level, where when these big servers were not hitting great spots and Alcaraz could get a racket on it, it was coming back into the court every time against, the likes of Jari and the likes of Zverev. But in this match, not the case. Plenty of missed first serve returns. And, I feel like this week I have been seeing, and even last week, I have been seeing a little bit of maybe breakpoint yips, which Alcaraz is a little bit prone to when he's not confident. I saw it this time last year. Coming into last year's U.S. Open, it was one of the big points that I was hammering home. I was saying Alcaraz isn't necessarily playing badly, but on the big points, he is playing badly. And I do think there have been some breakpoint yips, which I think is just a product of him not having his full confidence at this time. But while the first serve return was somewhat of an issue, I thought the second serve return was a much bigger issue. He was standing, in the first set, he was standing way, way, way inside the baseline. And for a really long time, I just couldn't figure out why he was doing it. I just couldn't wrap my brain around it. And then Jim Courier, who's very smart, I think unlocked the reason why and cracked the code. And it comes back to the way these courts are playing, very bouncy. And Hurkacz with a very heavy kick serve. If you stand at the baseline, you're not in a great spot against such a lively kick serve where you're probably hitting the ball head height, above the head. No good. So you have to stand in and take the ball early to get it in your strike zone. And I suppose that's why Alcaraz was standing so close. At least that was Jim Courier's theory, and I think he's right. But there are problems with that. One, Hurkacz's second serve can be too big for that. Like, there are going to be some second serves where Hurkacz is going to hit it 103 miles per hour and deep. And you're basically at the saber position, sneak attack by Roger. That's going to be hard to handle. Like, that's just a tough return to make. And there were occasions where Alcaraz just couldn't handle the return. And on one hand, it's like, oh, great second serve. Clap your hands. On the other hand, that's the downside of that strategy. If maybe against someone with a more vulnerable second serve, it would have made more sense. The other problem is that rushing Hurkacz is pretty hard, and he can redirect very well if you're put out of position. Like, I think the worst thing to do against Hurkacz's second serve on the ad side, let's say he hits it to your backhand, is take the ball really, really early and hit it hard at Hurkacz's backhand. Because that's where Hurkacz is going to redirect backhand down the line, you're out of position, open court, +1, bang. It's literally Hurkacz's best shot. So for all these reasons, and that's just one pattern of a couple of different ways it can play out, taking the second serve return early against Hurkacz, I just don't think the reward is really there. Now, were there some points where, yes, it worked because, look, you take the ball really early and hit it really hard? Yeah, I mean, sometimes that's going to play out in your favor. But I just don't think it was the right strategy. And it wasn't until 3-all in the second set where Alcaraz made the adjustment and moved back. And now you make more returns. You're in better position. You're in defensive position where Hurkacz is not really going to be able to use his redirection skills to do damage against you. He's going to need to hit through you with less pace to work with when you're in good position. That's a much better position to be in against Hurkacz. And that's where you get these errors. So, like second set tie break, Hurkacz was up the mini break at 4-3. Alcaraz goes way back. It's a kick wide. He just loops it really high, really slow, cross court, and Hurkacz just misses the forehand inside out wide. Bang. Like, that's what you want. You want Hurkacz, not you stand in and hit it really hard right at him and take time away. That's where he's just going to redirect the ball. He loves that. No, hit it, stand deep, hit it slow, hit it high, make him generate. That's when he misses, like he did at 4-3. And then at 4-all, Alcaraz did it again. Again, high backhand, really loopy. And Hurkacz runs around, hits a forehand inside out approach, and Alcaraz makes the two-shot pass and wins the point again. Again, you're Carlos Alcaraz. You're an amazing defender. So don't employ these risky strategies against Hurkacz if you don't have to. Use your speed, use your counterpunching against a guy who can sometimes struggle to attack. Then, of course, you have the match point, which wasn't in the tiebreak, but that is another example of you get the reward for just making Hurkacz play. That is why. Hubie missed a forehand, middle of the court, trying to hit an approach shot. There's not much more to it. It was at 4-5 in the second set, but Alcaraz stayed solid and really patient in this rally. You can look at the balls that he's playing, like there's no risk in any of them. And he's just making Hurkacz come up to with something, which is what Ferrero was telling him to do here in this second set. In the third set, Alcaraz started getting a bunch of returns back in play finally, and he kind of had a better mentality from the baseline, much more consistent, much more patient, better return strategy, standing deep in the second serve. It really all came together, and in the third set, I thought Alcaraz was really just playing how he had to. It wasn't so much a dip by Hurkacz. I think he played all right, but again, less risk from the baseline, better return strategy, first serve returns in play. Yeah. All the problems that existed for Alcaraz in the first set, they were gone by the third set. And that's what enabled him to get the victory. Again, I guess I'll make one more point just to hammer it home. He breaks at 1-2 in the third set. Alcaraz looped at love 15. Alcaraz just looped in a slow return right through the middle. Hubie missed a forehand. And then 12th break point. He's 0 for 11. He put a return in, medium pace, medium depth, right in the middle of the court. Hubie missed another forehand. So you just have to make him play. You have to, especially if you're as fast and skilled defensively as Alcaraz. And it took him a while to realize that, which was kind of weird because they played last week, and, Hurkacz is not exactly a secret on tour. But hey, I thought Alcaraz once again showed really good mental toughness and a lot of willingness to adjust his tactics midway through the match. As much as Ferrero and him were kind of workshopping together, and it was a team effort, ultimately it does come down to a player who's willing to listen and execute and not get frustrated when things don't work the first time and stick with particular strategies. So in that respect, it was another really gritty effort by Carlos Alcaraz, and positive play by Hubert Hurkacz overall. The forehand just didn't come through under pressure when he needed it. Hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you next time.